Welcome to Just Talking About Jesus. I'm Jan Johnson, a seasoned believer who loves relationships and, just talking about Jesus. Here you'll hear inspiring stories from a woman who went from using meth to starting a ministry in Kenya, or the man who had a life-changing encounter with someone in Home Depot, of all places, or a woman who has endured years of chronic pain after having her gallbladder, spleen, and pancreas removed. Every conversation goes deep into how God has changed lives and brought us to a place of surrender, sharing joys, sorrows, and just life in general. We don't have to go it alone because we can go hand in hand with Jesus on our journey. Jesus desires a relationship with us, with you. He wants to know us intimately. Revelations 12:11 says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." That's what I'm talking about. The word of our testimony. Just talking about Jesus. Join us each week.
I was asking God, okay, what do I write? What do I write next? I was so confused, had lots of story ideas in my head. I was a bit confused. I didn't know what direction to take next with my writing. Then one day my sister, gave me a book by Joe Rosenberg. It's titled The 12th Imam. And I read this book, and while I was reading it, I heard God's voice telling me, "This is what I want you to do. I want you to take this kind of writing and replicate it with what's going on in the country." So I'm from Nigeria, and Nigeria has lots of issues, politically, economically, and socially. Even so there's lots of security issues and lots of kidnapping. My own dad has been kidnapped twice, and we had to pay for those for both. We had to pay both times for him, pay a huge ransom for his release from the hands of the kidnappers. And Nigeria has a very strong terrorist group known as Boko Haram. It's an Islamic terrorist group, and it's been recognized globally and even by the US. So, but this was what happened, and I clearly heard God telling me, that replicate this with what's going on in your country, what was going on in Nigeria, and well, that was how I took it, and I've been running with it since then.
Hey everybody, welcome my friends to episode 69 of Just Talking About Jesus. Last week we heard Sister Mercy tell about her summer nun fun adventures. It was pretty funny, and it was so nice to have her at home. If you're not driving while listening to this episode with Faith Ajiga, close your eyes. Picture a fictional scene. What do you see? What is the setting? What time of year is it? What's the weather like? Who is there? What are they wearing? What expressions are on their faces? What sounds do you hear? Now, imagine being blind since birth and writing thrillers, keeping in mind all of what I've just asked you to experience. This is today's guest. I met Faith Ajiga when I was asked to be a guest on her podcast, Christian Writers and Readers Club, found on Spotify. After visiting with her, I knew I wanted her for a guest on Just Talking About Jesus. Welcome to Just Talking About Jesus. Today's guest is Faith Ajiga. She's a multifaceted creative force serving as both a podcaster and an accomplished author with a passion for storytelling that spans genres. Faith's literary journey is characterized by gripping crime, thriller, and suspense novels. A bachelor's degree holder from the National Open University of Nigeria, Faith's fascination with politics began to take root during her days in the university, where she read peace studies and conflict resolution. Today, she channels this interest into crafting compelling narratives within the realm of political, military, and crime thrillers. Faith is the founder of the Christian Writers and Readers Club, an online community where Christian readers can discover new authors and books. Faith, I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to do this with you. It's been a while though, so I hope I don't get to disappoint.
Oh, no, I just can't even possibly imagine you disappointing. What a great, what a great thing. Tell us a little bit
Well,
about you.
oh, okay. As you mentioned earlier, my name is Faith, and yeah, I'm from Nigeria. I'm currently in Nigeria. I'm an author, a podcaster, and I love Jesus. And I gave my life to Christ back in 2009. Since then, I've been, following him, not really strongly, for some years because I didn't really know that much about God. And I was born in a Christian home, but I really gave my life to Christ back in 2009. Then in 2016, when when I gained admission into the university, I came back home and I was like, okay, Lord, I'm here and I want to rededicate my life to you. And I did my rededication to Christ back in 2016. Then my journey with him started. I started my writing career, So to cut the long because it's actually tell you a little about me. So I did my baptism in 2009, and well, the journey has been wonderful with Christ. There has been lots of trials, but God has been faithful through everything. And yeah, I just to add this one, I am blind. Yep. So
Mhm.
everything I do on my phone, my computer is with a screen reader.
Tell us a little bit about that because there's a lot of people that don't know about what adaptive things are, just how you get by. Tell us about things that maybe that you use that help you, like using the computer or writing even.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, like I said earlier, blind, it started from childhood. I was diagnosed with cataract at when I was just 6 months old. Then we did a surgery at the age of 1. You know, cataract is removable via surgery, but mine was a failed surgery, so it ended up damaging my sight beyond medical repair. That was back in 1995, 96. So it's been a long time. So I should, believe that there should be some medical remedy to my sight condition right now, but I haven't really taken out the time to check. So moving forward, it was something I had to grow up with. I had to, be bullied, like classmates, other kids, my church, school, around, just around my environment. But I had a supporting and caring parents that, always told me, you can do this, you can make it in life. And I believed them. Then
Mhm.
I went through secondary school, university, and it was in the university that I discovered my love for writing. Because well, I don't really know if I should say I discovered it, or that's a different story on its own. I can come back to that one if you like.
Mhm.
So, but moving forward, we had this laptop. I was given a laptop to go through my university education, which had a screen reader, came with a screen reader, and I also had a phone, an Android phone at the time, and also that also had a screen reader. So with my screen reader, I'm able to do anything, virtually everything a sighted person can do on their phone as well.
Mm.
So it's been helping me navigate life on the internet, which of course for someone with my condition who doesn't go out that much, online is the next best thing for us. When you talk about places where we can go and be social or meet other people, yeah. So it's very easy that way, especially because of the kind of place where I live. So someone with my sight is sort of like you face this unspoken stigma, so you go to a gathering, a function, and you have to stay one place.
Yeah.
Nobody's carrying you around, and nobody, because people are looking at you and like, what am I going to discuss with this person? So they just leave you, and well, it's been a serious challenge. Even though it's been long, 29 years now. If you ask me if I still prefer to be cited to this, I'd say yes, 100 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but with the help of my screen reader, I am able to do everything that I'm doing, and I'm so happy and I'm grateful for that.
Wow. And I suppose that, technology has advanced a lot more to be helpful, to take into account the things that you need to be able to be successful. But I'm just so proud of you, Faith, for going through college
Yeah.
and going beyond what even a lot of sighted people do. That's just so impressive.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
Besides being an author, you're a podcaster as well.
Yeah. That was how we met. Yes.
Yeah, so I was able to be interviewed by Faith on her podcast about my writing, and what a delight that was. With it was just a
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
experience, and so you've written 4 books. How do you use fiction as a tool to speak truth into current society and political issues? Tell us about your books. So the things that you've written and uh, kind of what motivated you to write them.
Okay. First off, I've written 5 books, but
Mm,
yeah, but yeah, but I also have other short stories that I put in for magazines, anthologies, anthology collections, and so on. So I have lots of works, but I guess the ones that are officially published under my name as a thriller author is there are 5 of them. Yes.
okay.
Then yeah, what motivates me? Back in school, I read peace studies and conflict resolution. So it's something that the peace studies and conflict resolution. So it's something that deals with conflict, but the one when you have within you, that's an intra-conflict, then inter-conflict between 2 or more persons, between 2 or more groups, between 2 or more nations, between 2 or more continents. So we studied this from personal level down to the world stage, and that included the World War II. So, well, mostly our studies were centered around Africa, countries in Africa, the wars, and everything, and how people were breaking boundaries, the successes we've made over the years, and the ones and our faults and failures. So I became really intrigued because growing up, my dad always wanted us to always watch the news. He'd be like, "Tune this to CNN." I'd like to see. And we're like, "Oh, come on." We're just like every other kids, wanted to watch movies,
Right.
wanted to watch, play games. Yeah, listen to, watch Disney World and all that because we had the satellite in my home. But my dad would always come back and he'd be like, change this. I want to watch the news. And, back then it got to a point he had to get a television in our own room so that when he comes home, when he returned, yeah, when he returned home, he'd be able to watch and listen to the news at the living room. So whenever he came back home, we just disappeared immediately. Like, okay, Dad, welcome, welcome, and we just disappear into our rooms to continue watching our movies. So studying all this, the wars and everything, I realized that I was a bit intrigued. And I was like, wow, is this what has been happening in the country, the continent, and all over the world? So there I decided to, go deeper, do my own personal reading. So I got lots of books, started reading or, reading stuff about different governments, about wars that's taking place, the First World War, the Second World War, the Cold War, the Gulf War, and even the American Civil War. So I've been reading and it got me intrigued. Plus, I started following the news closely. No, this was something that I couldn't do as a child or even as a teenager. But here I was in my early 20s, and I was I was intrigued. It's just something that I couldn't tear myself away from. So that's when I said, okay, back in 2020, because I started writing in 2017, but in 2019, I started, writing Christian fiction books. So I completed my first book back in early 2020, and it was the pandemic. And I was asking God, okay, what do I write? What do I write next? I was so confused, had lots of story ideas in my head.
Uh-huh.
I was a bit confused. I didn't know what direction to take next with my writing. Then one day my sister, gave me a book by Joe Rosenberg, this titled The 12th Imam. And I read this book, and while I was reading it, I heard God's voice telling me, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take this kind of writing and replicate it with what's going on in the country. So I'm from Nigeria, and Nigeria has lots of issues, politically, economically, and socially. Even so there's lots of security issues and lots of kidnapping. My own dad has been kidnapped twice, and we had
Really?
to pay. Yes, and we had to pay for those for both. We had to pay both times for him, pay a huge ransom for his release from the hands of the kidnappers. And Nigeria has a very strong terrorist group known as Boko Haram. It's an Islamic terrorist group, and it's been recognized globally and even by the US um terrorism department. I think that's of the FBI. Can't remember their official name. So, but this was what happened, and I clearly heard God telling me, that replicate this with what's going on in your country, what's going on in Nigeria. And well, that was how I took it, and I've been running with it since then.
Yeah, and I think it's so good to be able to read something similar to what you wanna write, because it also, especially as a new writer, to get an idea of even how to go about it, because you're right, you have a whole bunch of ideas, but how do you put them down in a way that makes sense? So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
that is really interesting. Yeah. So, how has your faith journey shaped your writing and what you're doing with that?
Wow. Thank you. I've, experienced lots of challenges, when I started writing that several times. I had to stop and ask, God, are you the one really sending me on this? Or was I just intrigued by this man's writing, this author's writing? And I was like, okay, if you're the one, show me what to do. Since 2020, when I graduated since 2020, and since then, since then, I've been applying for jobs, but haven't been able to get any official job. I just get maybe a gig once or twice, and but and I yes, there were times I was frustrated. Sometimes I called my sister and I was like, I can't do this again. I can't do this because I was writing, but I really wasn't getting what I needed to sustain me financially to write. So it was during those times that I was, going through life, and I had to, and I realized that God was, using it to process me. There were several stuff, God was trying to prune me to make sure that I become, you know, the kind of person that reflects his life in me, his glory in me. And it was a challenge. Like I said, there were lots of discouraging times. There were times, my mom was a bit fed up, and she was like, okay, you go get a job, you go get married and leave my home.
Mhm.
And, uh, you know, so I went through all that stuff. There were times she tell me, what you're writing is more important than, the food we're going to eat in this house. And, just, it was a very, very tense moment. And I found myself clinging more onto, to God. And I kept, there were times I telling God, I'm so frustrated, I'm tired, I don't know what to do. But I still tell him that, "Oh, okay, I love you, and I know you're faithful. Just help me to go through this. Help me to realize, help me to stand, help me to still, in spite of everything, present myself to you as and my work to you as a living sacrifice." So this journey has really improved me spiritually, mentally, emotionally. you know, it's really, really shaped me, shaped my faith journey with God, because that's helped me to trust more in Him.
Isn't that just like God to do though? Because he sees even like say you take the story of Joseph. I mean, first of all, he's rejected by his brothers and he gets sold and he goes to Egypt and he's in the Pharaoh's house and all this. But every step of the way is because God's end plan was for him to be able to save a nation, but he had to learn the leadership skills in order to do that, right? And
Yeah.
and God does the same with us, it's just he takes us he knows what the end game is, and he knows the desire of our hearts. So,
Yeah.
I think he takes whatever he knows as he does. He knows us through and through. So
Mhm.
he can take
Yeah.
us to that place that will fulfill the desires of our heart.
Yeah, yes. Because it got to a point where it was too much. At some point, I'd be like, okay, maybe I should turn back, because I had lots of discouragement. Many people would call me and say, "What are you writing? What do you know you're writing? Just come over here, come and stay with us, and we'll help you get a job. We'll help you do this." But I knew God wasn't, allowing me to go to those places, and I stay back. At some point, I had to move out of my family home, go stay with my younger sister, who was a police officer. And yeah, it was really, it's really been a hard journey, but it's something that I don't really regret walking through.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow, that's neat. Do all of your stories have settings in Africa?
Yeah, they do, but I think how I'm gonna put it this way. I have a book of mine titled The Kano Cipher. So it's set in Nigeria and the United States.
Mm.
Then I have this book coming out this year. That should be in September, and it's set in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is in Africa, and it's set in the United States. It's set in France, and it's set in China.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I like to write stories that has Africa in it, but I like to do it on a global stage, make
Mm.
the stake higher, yeah, so that so that people from, because I have lots of readers right now in the United States, so even more than I do over here in Nigeria. So it's really been wonderful how God is, working everything out for His good. So in order to make sure that I give my readers what they're familiar with, I try to bring in different parts of the world and give them, what they would like reading. That's what Joe Rosenberg does with his books. He sets his book in Middle East, North Africa, and the United States. And since I heard God clearly, telling me to replicate this with what's happening on the African continent, that's what I've been doing. And my book, Jungle Justice, is set in Nigeria and the United States. Yeah, so that's how I've been writing my books.
And doesn't it do you do some challenging our assumptions about justice and vengeance then in that particular book, right?
Yeah, actually, Jungle Justice is set on is actually a story that is based on a real life story. Yes, it features the lynching of of a girl, a college student who died, who was killed, and her body was set on fire back in May 12th, 2022. Yeah. So yeah, to cut it long, and then I also featured lots of terrorism. So it's a bit. The book is the story is it's scary, So some people read it and they're like, "Oh, this book is too tense for me, and I think I'm gonna have to, stop here." But if anyone who likes, political thrillers, military thrillers, and can, stand, the tough parts, then I would highly recommend the book to them, because though it's based on a real life story, there are also some fictional elements in the book that, would keep the reader going and hopeful for the future as well.
It sounds like something that would make a good movie.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I can see all kinds of action parts going and cutting back and forth and
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And most times people recommend my book to male readers, in the industry, because I think that's really what male fiction readers, people who love reading Christian fiction, political and military thrillers, likes to read, because there's little to no romance in my books. I'm sorry, but I'm not really good with romance.
Yeah,
So
well,
I just deal with the hard stuff, and everything that just goes boom.
uh,
So,
well, you could do an audiobook though and have sound effects in the back of it too.
wow, that's it. I never really thought of it that way, but it's something huge to consider. I just completed an audio book of a short story I wrote last year, titled Operation Red Viper. So Operation Red Viper. So I think I'm gonna put what you said to consideration, and I'll see if I would add the effects before publishing that one. Thanks for that suggestion.
Yeah, yeah. So what's next in your what's God telling you to do next?
So I have a little issue currently with some personal stuff that I'm working on, and I'm that in that area I'm asking God for His direction. And yeah, I haven't gotten any clear, next step to take, but there are some things I'm trying to do right now, which is I'm trying to, like I said, I have a book coming up in September, and it's titled "This Silent Protest." It's also based on a real life story. I could explain that one if we still have more time. And I have a Christmas thriller coming up, and this thriller is set in the United States, Israel, and I'm trying to think of this third country. I'm so sorry. It's been a while. I wrote the I
Uh-huh.
touched the book. So I'm currently at the editing stage. Yeah, Morocco, Marrakesh in Morocco.
Oh,
So Morocco
okay.
is North Africa, yeah. And it has something to do with the CIA, two CIA agents, who one is from originally from the United States, and one is a Nigerian who went to school in the States, and got inducted into the CIA. So she and him, they go on this quest to find this missing relic from, known as the Star of Jerusalem. So it's something that I'm currently working on, and I was going to publish it last Christmas, but was unable to do that. So I'm hoping I get to release it this November.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds interesting. Very good.
Yeah, you. Thank you. Thank
Oh, well,
you.
we're running out of time. I'm gonna put links to your books and all of your podcasts and things into the show notes so people can find you. And is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, if there's something I'd add there is to say that, anywhere I find myself, able to talk about myself and what I do, I'm really, really grateful for that. And first of all, I'd like to say that it's all God, and He is faithful, and He is very good. And I'd also like to say thank you so much to you, Jan. I was so excited, getting an invitation to come here. And I'm so glad, and I'm, grateful for what you're doing. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be interviewed.
I'm just happy that I got to spend time with you again because it just You're a delightful person, and it's just been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to share with you a little bit of Faith's short story called Ashes of the Nations. And as I'm reading, try and picture writing this when you have no sight. Chapter 1, Lagos, Nigeria, 2037. The power died again at exactly 7:13 p.m. The humming of Carl and Anoja's solar inverter cut off mid-pitch, plunging the room into the sort of darkness that didn't just obscure, it swallowed. Outside, a child screamed as if the night itself had bitten him. From the window, Carl heard the distant gunshots that had become too familiar. 2 pops, a pause, then one last burst like punctuation in a bloody sentence. He didn't flinch. Instead, he closed the laptop, whose screen had gone blank with the outage, and felt its way to the candle on his desk. Striking a match, he whispered, "Let there be light," his voice tinged with irony. A tiny flame sputtered to life, illuminating his face. Mid-30s, lean from stress more than exercise, with eyes that saw too much and lips that prayed silently more often than they spoke. Carl had once been one of Nigeria's brightest minds in tech, first class in computer engineering from Covenant University, a Google fellowship, then an MIT boot camp that opened doors Silicon Valley would have welcomed him through. But he came back, not for money, not for fame, for hope. A foolish thing in this country. Now, years later, Carl was a ghost in a failed system, moving between safe houses with his backpack of tools and truth. He built software that exposed the unspoken, financial footprints of government officials, encrypted leaks from whistleblowers, and communication bridges between resistant cells. The movement called themselves Araya, from the Yoruba word for healer. It was a risky name. Healing implied the system was sick, and in Nigeria, calling sickness what it was could get you killed. A sharp knock rattled the door. Carl froze. 3 knocks. Pause. 2 more. The code. He opened the door cautiously. A slender figure in a black hoodie stepped in. The girl removed her hood. It was Dee Dee, barely 20, dreadlocks tied in a loose bun, face hard like someone who had seen her war up close. "They picked up another one in Ojada," she said. "Who?" "Uche. He was tracking embezzlement funds in the Lagos state health budget." Carl clenched his jaw. Uche was 17. Still in his first year at Unilag. Brilliant, brave, naive. Is he alive? They took him to Sector 6. Carl felt the breath leave him. Sector 6 was a military black site camouflaged as a government archive building. Everyone who went in either came out silent or didn't come out at all. He turned and lit another candle, the flickering light casting long shadows on the peeling walls of the safe house. "We can't keep losing people," he said, pouring water into a cup, his hands trembling just slightly. Dee Dee leaned against the door. "That's why we're here, Carl. We're fighting. It's just the fire is burning us too." He nodded slowly. Outside, the rain began, soft at first, then growing heavy, pounding against the zinc roof like an anxious heart. Carl moved to the table and pulled out a worn manila folder. "This is the Lagos State Electricity Disbursement Report," he said. "Publicly, the budget allocates 420 billion naira to infrastructure. But see this?" He flipped through spreadsheets with annotated code. Only 17% of that actually reached project accounts. The rest went to ghost characters. The cartel has men in the Ministry of Energy, Finance, even NEPA's core of a replacement. The cartel has men in the Ministry of Energy, Finance, even NEPA's core of a replacement. Dee's eyes darkened. "We're literally sitting in darkness while they siphon light for themselves." Carl nodded grimly. "And people say it's God punishing us, but it's not divine judgment. It's man-made sin." His words lingered. Carl looked around the room. Cracked concrete, a ceiling fan that hadn't turned in weeks. He had grown up in McCurdy, Benue State, where his father was a pastor and his mother sold second-hand clothes. They taught him that integrity mattered more than comfort, but comfort had become a privilege, and integrity now carried a death sentence. He had chosen integrity, and now he was choosing to act. The cartel owns the government, the media, even the police, Carl said, eyes fixed on the candle flame. But they don't own the truth, and the truth is like fire. It spreads. Dee smiled faintly. So what's next? Carl stood, his resolve hardening. Tomorrow we will leak the report, but not online. The networks are compromised. I have a friend, a journalist, who is still with channels. We go old school, live broadcasts. If it reaches enough people, it'll start to chain reaction. Won't they come for you? They already have. Suddenly his phone buzzed, a coded notification from their signal chain. Encrypted ping from Zone 4, Carl read. Abuja's safe house is down. Didi's eyes widened. That's Joy and Tolu. They had the banking cartel data. Carl opened his laptop and quickly booted into a secure shell, checking for mirrored backups. Everything from Abuja was gone. He stared at the screen, heart sinking. They wiped it clean. No backups. It's like it never existed. The rain was heavier now. Thunder rumbled like a warning. Carl stood slowly, walked to the window, and looked into the night. Not with eyes, but with spirit. This country, he said quietly, is like a cracked vessel. Water still flows in it, but nothing holds. Everything spills. Didi stepped beside him. Then we seal the cracks, or die trying. Carl turned toward her, eyes burning, not with fear, but with resolve. No, he said, because even broken things can be redeemed. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to stop there, and hopefully you're going to want to buy one of her books and read it, just because I believe her writing is pretty spectacular. You can find links in the show notes. So I'll leave you with these scriptures. 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And Habakkuk 2:2 and 3. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets. It will surely come, it will not delay. So I'd like to recommend a podcast to you. It's called Our Night Sky. It explores the galaxies and relates them to the creator of the universe. Blessings, my friend. I look forward to joining you next week when we hear from Rob Linton, who grew up in Papua New Guinea with missionary parents. He's an adventurer, a collector of Volkswagen cars and motorcycles, and an all-around fun human being. I'm sure you won't want to miss this. Until next time. Do you have a friend or relative that would find value in this episode? Please share it. And you can let them know that if they'd prefer to watch, I always put these episodes on YouTube. So check that out in the show notes. And if you watch on YouTube, consider subscribing, because just as when you subscribe to this podcast and get notification when new episodes are out, the same will happen if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just Talking About Jesus. And then you won't miss an episode. Speaking of subscribing, are you getting my newsletters? These not only tell the guest stories, but also include pictures and links to the website and YouTube. I also add a little about my life, and who doesn't want to know that?